Okay, so I'm in my Vitara here, boys. Sorry about the darkness. It is late at night here. I'm working in my garage. The blower fan assembly in the housing here is just screaming. Initially, I thought the bearing was gone, and I'll try and run it here so you can actually hear it. It is making a horrendous noise, but if you listen to the tone of the noise, it sounds kind of plasticky. It doesn't sound metallic to me, so I'm going to show you what potentially might be the problem here. Initially, I thought it was just the cabin air filter was brutally clogged. No surprise. I haven't owned this since new, but I don't think it's ever been changed.
It's actually starting to collapse. It's under so much vacuum.
Yeah, let me run it. Probably the best thing is to just run it, let you hear it, and then I'll show you what I've noticed on it. So yeah, you heard the noise. It doesn't sound like a bearing to me. Perhaps it is, but I wonder if you can notice this on the camera. Maybe hear it better than you can see it. That's loose. So I'm hoping that when this is at speed, or when it's starting, that the torque on the motor is just imposing a resonance on the actual blower, and the whole thing is actually just a screaming. I'm hoping that's the case. I'm going to try and remove this, Loctite it, put it back, torque it on, and hope for the best, because this is probably not too cheap. We'll see. Okay, so on second thought, I think it actually is the bearing on this thing. I just dropped a wee bit of oil. You can access it actually through the you can't see it in the camera. I guess the lighting's not quite right, or the camera angle, but you can actually access it through the vent line here. You can get to the commutator, and I just actually dropped a wee bit of lubricant actually down into the bearing, or probably a bushing on a cheap motor like this, I would think. Well, I don't know, hard to say. And anyway, it appears that the blower actually spins a wee bit freer now, so perhaps it is actually the bearing. In any case, we'll put it back together, test it, and hope for the best, but I suspect this is probably no long for this world. So there's the blower just hanging on its harness, and the connector is actually sitting on the floor. Anyway, I'll start it up here. All right, I can't hold the camera and actually have this on the vertical plane at the same time. Well, I can't actually start it. I need a third hand for that. But anyway, yeah, it's quiet enough for the meantime. But I actually pried off, I removed the nut, and actually from 2 points I actually pried up on the blower, and surprisingly it just comes straight off the shaft, no issue. So I actually oiled the upper bearing point as well. So yeah, I guess the bearings are starting to go on this. If it starts to make any noise again, I'm just going to order another one. Probably any it for a couple of $100, I'd imagine. But yeah, so anyway, this would maybe be a temporary fix for somebody at best, so I guess it's maybe of some value. Okay, in closing, musical recommendation for this evening. This band here, band out of Toronto, B17. This album's Wishing Won't Make It So is the name of the album. They released in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. This track in particular, Bad Situation, is my favorite on the album. Yeah, you can find them there. They're on the label Optical Sounds. Their sound is very reminiscent, or at least some of the tracks on the album you'll find very similar. MC5, the Stooges, lots of high energy, good, straightforward rock and roll, good stuff. Yeah, and any facial resemblance between me and the young fella there who's the guitarist at times singer, purely coincidental. How's that, boys? Cheers.